it's just like
$449, so $450.
So $450, and then you're considering $450 plus. If you get like a different controller, that's probably a good.
How am I supposed to play Mario Kart with my buddies when they only have 2 Joy-Cons?
Exactly.
That's
so you're probably
suck.
gonna have to pay. I don't know how much Joy-Cons usually go for, but I'd imagine
$60 for one, $80 for 2.
60 for one?
At least I believe that's what it was at Walmart back when I worked there. Don't quote me on that.
Oh my God! I was gonna say like 30 or something. That feels more reasonable. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Bleat This. I am your host, Luke Guilday.
I'm your other host, Ty Hickey.
And today we're just going to go over a pretty just broad kind of topic, just board games or video games. Very general topic. I feel like there's so many board games, there's so many video games, and Ty and I will discuss that today. I am on the side of board games.
I'm on the side of video games, and to shake things up, I'm going to let my good friend Luke Guilday go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's pretty simple for me. Here's the thing, is that I like both a lot. I just find myself, I think nowadays with being, older and having more responsibilities, I find myself being able to have the time to play video games. I have less of it. It's just kind of easier in some instances to play like board games, especially in like large groups of people. You're hanging out with friends. I'm one of the members of the group to have a big duffel bag of just board games, just in case it's like, oh,
you and Aiden.
Yeah, just in case of.
Let me go to my car. I got my duffel bag of board games.
Listen, I love it, all right, and I kind of like, after a certain point, sometimes it just becomes I will buy a board game because I like the art or something, and it becomes like just a collector's thing for me. There was actually a board game. Because I like to go to the Games Keep LLC in Westchester, and I like to just walk around because they've got so many board games. There's so many.
Do they have Mahjong?
They probably do. They probably would. And I'll just walk around, and there was this one game that I saw that, like, I don't think I've ever seen it ever in any, like game store or something like that. It was called 2 Rooms and a Boom. And that's something that I'm an officer of the WCU Gaming Club, and that's a game that we sometimes play like once every semester or something, but we usually have to like print out or draw like the cards or something, because that game is almost impossible to find like in stores or at like gaming conventions or what have you. And I just randomly saw it just in a section, and it was like $30 or something, and I'm like, that's a steal, and stuff like that. So like little things like that for me with like board games and is what I thoroughly enjoy.
This just in, Luke Guilday steals.
I didn't. When did you even get that?
You said it was a steal.
Oh, well. All right. Well, it was like stealing a game from a game store, but you paid $30 beforehand before you stole it.
You did that Indiana Jones thing, where you replaced the thing with $30.
$30, yeah. And it has to be like, it has to weigh the same as well. So I just put like
coins.
I just wrap like $30 like into like a brick or two or something.
Did you get those bricks from the sidewalks of Westchester?
From the sidewalks of Westchester, where there's just loose bricks everywhere.
Yes.
But I know with you're more of a fan of the video games.
I am definitely more of a fan of the video games. My big argument for why video games are better is I can buy a video game on like Steam that's just an assortment of 30 board games for the price of one board game, because
true.
It's digital.
That is true, yeah.
Now, personally, though, I am a big fan of like the disc video games. I have way more of the hard copies and discs still. When I got my PlayStation, I specifically spent extra money. No, I think I was being cheap. But I have a disc drive PlayStation. They sent me the wrong one, so I got a discount on that. But like I specifically have discs because I don't like the digital thing. It's weird, but there's such a variety.
Physical copies are better. I feel.
Ubisoft is really bad at they've rescinded some. That's
really?
I'll give you this. I'll give you this. One of the benefits of having a board game in your hands, the company that sold you that can't just decide it's an old game. You don't have it anymore. You don't have access anymore because you own it physically. So that is a big win for board games. Ubisoft just kind of silently swiped some games out of people's libraries. Really, really old games.
I didn't know that. That's actually crazy.
Yeah, because when you buy a digital copy, you don't buy the game. You buy an access to the game, and they can technically take that away whenever you want.
Which is wild considering that Uno comes free with your Xbox. So
I don't have Uno on my Xbox. I have the oldest Xbox known to man.
Well, they took it away from you. That's why you don't have Uno. That's why you never got it, is because they took it away at post-purchase. But I will say, like, because I agree with you to an extent, because, like, I feel like the prices of, like, PC, like, computer games is vastly different from console games. I mean, case in point...
I love Nintendo Switch. I love paying $80 for my game and never having a sale ever for any of the games ever.
The Nintendo Direct 2 was a few weeks ago, and one of the games I saw that... Well, I mean, I don't have a Nintendo Switch. I wish I did, but I do not. But one for the Nintendo Switch 2 is, I think, Mario Kart World, I think is what it was called.
The open format game, or the open world games have gotten Mario Kart.
Yeah, which I didn't expect. I think it's just a random thing. But
I mean, it's a race game. Usually you got race tracks. I really wouldn't have expected. That was the last game I expected an open world concept for.
Exactly.
I'll be so serious.
No, exactly. But, like... interesting concept. It looked good, and then the price tag was there, and it was $80.
And it'll never go on sale.
And that's the thing. It's just like, that's insane. Like, how much does the Switch 2 cost? That's like $500, right? Close to it, probably.
I believe it's more than the original Switch costed because I bought my own Switch, and that was like $300.
Oh, okay.
And this one I think is more.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
$449, so $450.
So $450, and then you're considering $450 plus if you get like a different controller, that's probably a good.
How am I supposed to play Mario Kart with my buddies when they only have 2 Joy-Cons?
Exactly.
That's
so you're probably gonna have to pay. I mean, I don't know how much Joy-Cons usually go for, but I'd imagine
$60 for one, $80 for 2.
60 for one?
At least I believe that's what it was at Walmart back when I worked there. Don't quote me on that.
Oh my God, I was going to say like 30 or something. That feels more reasonable. That's giving Nintendo more of the benefit of the doubt, but
special offer from QVC, $70 for 2 Joy-Cons. Walmart has the green and yellow ones for $65.
Special offer, your left arm. Like you can't just say special.
Amazon is selling the classic red and blue one.
Okay, it's not a special offer if after the sale is there, it is still above $50. It's not a special offer. I'm still paying a lot of money.
Nintendo Switch 2 camera for $50.
No one is using that camera. I'm going to say it.
The dock set.
No one is going to use that camera. I was watching that Direct, and I thought to myself, no one is going to use that camera that has no more than 5 frames a second. It's not going to be used. It's just not. I
don't want you to see my face. I look stupid when I'm focused.
Well, like, it gives you the option of, like, you could share your screen with everybody. And I genuinely watched the trailer for it, and I'm like, this is horrible. It was running at a smooth 3 frames.
It sucks.
It was like...
But let's move on from the new Nintendo Switch 2.
You're right.
Which is expensive, and I'm not going to get it. I'm going to stick with my Nintendo because I already don't use it.
Exactly.
I already barely use it.
But overall, I would say, like, I think Steam, which is, like, the store you buy PC games and all, like, that definitely is like, okay, that has my heart, because it's like Steam frequently has sales, whether it's like an entire like themed sale, like the summer or winter sale,
The spring sale,
or the spring
Chinese
sale,
New Year sale,
or
summer sale,
or if it's
winter
like
sale,
individual
fall
games,
sale,
or if it's individual
Ubisoft
games.
sale, Assassin's Creed sales. I'm just listing off all of the ones I remember.
All the sale, but that's the beauty of it.
That's
is
the
that
beauty.
there are so many, or if it's just an individual game sale or something like. And there's also just a bunch of bundles of like, I was talking with one of our mutual friends, and she was like, oh yeah, like Dead Cells and Risk of Rain 2, there's like a bundle that's being done together, and the two games combined is like $20. It's like $20. I'm like, that's insane, because ordinarily it would be 20 per. So like, it's literally a buy one get one, and it's like, I don't really see those sales on like Xbox or PlayStation.
Well, on PlayStation, there's a lot. At least the sales there's a spring sale. That's also there. There's the summer sale. There was just a recent sale. Of course, I couldn't buy anything because my pockets are still hurting from the Italy trip. And very often, when I go longingly look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, I see that there is a possibility to bundle it with some of the more recent Assassin's Creed games. I know that Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla, you can bundle the three of them together for a deal. And there's one where you can bundle 5 of them. It's like Black Flag, the Black Flag expansion, which was very popular, Unity, Syndicate, and another one that you could just bundle 5 of the Assassin's Creed. Now, the older ones, mind you. Bundle them together. There's a bundle for all of the Ezio Auditore di Frenzy. To bundle all of his games. There's a bundle for the Assassin's Creed. I don't remember specifically. There's 3 of them. They're 1.5 side scrollers essentially.
Oh, okay.
Like you can go up and back, but it's a side scroller.
I will say
Chronicles.
I will
Chronicles.
say this as well.
Yeah.
Something that video games have over like board games is that there are just some free games. Which there are some good ones, but I personally like to look at very bad free games. In fact, I occasionally will make a video of just reviewing overwhelmingly negative reviewed free Steam games that I still have in my library, actually. I want to check. Because some of them are truly bad, but in just such a funny way.
There's so much variety for video games. So much variety. Like, you can go open world if you like open world. Like, board games, you're limited to a certain point. Like, you have social deception games. You have different types of card games, like lying games. You can cut this if it's bad because it's a curse word, but the lying game of, like, bullshit or
that's fine.
war. That's like a fun one as well.
Everyone knows bullshit. It's it's a fun game.
It's a fun game.
Card game.
Uno, like you have a bunch of different card games that are different types of card games. Poker, I guess. I don't like poker. And then you also have card games that are essentially card games in their function, but they're not played with cards, like Mahjong. Now, I'm arguing for video games, and as you know, Luke, I totally don't enjoy board games at all. You know,
of course.
Of course. There's no leader. There's not a leaderboard that takes up part of my wall for the Mahjong wins that me and my friends have all had together. I have overwhelmingly the most wins.
I know one thing that we talked about a bit beforehand that was like very little and we'll get to it, of when you polled a bunch of people.
Yes, the poll. I expanded the poll. It's not just rugby players. There's some men in there now.
No,
It's not all women anymore. It's not all athletes. Some of them are unathletic, and some of them are men.
and some of them are our mutual friends that instead of just answering the question, they're like, well, a card game isn't a board game.
They said other, and they wrote card game. And then I messaged Luke, and I go, would you consider card games different than board games? Because I started to doubt myself. No, they're essentially board games. What we mean by board games are like electric
tabletop.
guitar and acoustic guitar.
I just thought it was funny because it's like we had one question and you chose to go around the question.
Yeah, this is not like a which video game character would you want to bring to real life? It was a very this or that. And then I put the other there because sometimes people are really interesting.
Do you prefer Minecraft or Terraria? Well, I actually like GTA. Like that is what's happened here. But I would say I feel like card games, I would bring in card games to be extensive to board games because
it's more tabletop games.
Yeah,
like we said, board games. When you say board games, you don't think that card games are excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Like for gaming club, don't we say like play board games?
Yeah.
And then card games are also there.
Yeah. Whenever we have me and the other officers will like grab the games that we bring in or something, and we just all set it on the table, and that usually means card games as well.
No cockroach.
No cockroach.
No
poker.
cockroach poker though.
Yeah, I had this one card game that I saw for $7 called Cockroach Poker. I have now lost Cockroach Poker, and it's the worst day of my life. I can't find it. I thought it was at home. It was not at home.
Devastating.
I thought it was in my dorm room with like my small collection of games. It was not there. I thought it was in the gaming club locker. It was not there. I have fully lost Cockroach Poker, and I'm not going to be able to get it back.
There's some really cool games like, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's one of the Horizon games where it's VR and you scale a mountain.
Oh, okay.
And you have to deal with the threats that are in the Horizon games, like the machines. But it's also like a completely separate, isolated story, and it's beautiful. The world of Horizon is beautiful, which is another thing. With board games, it's kind of hard to like explore stuff. Like Horizon explores humanity's downfall in its a post-apocalypse world,
Sure.
and I don't think you can explore that with board games.
It's hard to have a story in a board game. I would say maybe the only exception slightly to that is I forget there's a version of board games where it's like it's more of like a campaign where it's like you're playing it in multiple instances.
Would you consider Dungeons and Dragons a board game?
I was just about to say that. Yes, I would. Because, again, I think the same rule applies of, like, it's on a, board, stuff like that.
If it's not a board game, what else is it? It's essentially an RPG board game.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, I would say, would counter of that being, like, well, there is a story. Because it's almost exclusively story that's being built on both the person that's running it and also the players that are within it, and the characters that they've built and how they interact with the DM's world and stuff like that. That is something that I've always wanted to get into is like DMing and stuff like that, but it's
a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, Bo, who was on here last episode, is a DM for a campaign that I'm in and stuff like that. And truly, I don't know how they do it because it's so much. There's so much time and effort needs to go into it in an already busy schedule and stuff like that. Like I'm running a one shot is what it's called, where it's just you're doing one session and then that's it for that story.
Careful, the one shot Jaden ran for me is going on 2 summers now.
Oh wow, really? Yeah,
because we liked it so much. It was just a one shot so that he could learn how to DM, and then when he came back for the next time around, he was like, "Do you want to like stick with the same characters?" And we were like, "Absolutely, without doubt." So
that's awesome.
Longest surviving character is my Dragonborn Gillian.
Well, I'm gonna be running. It's an RPG tabletop called Call of Cthulhu, which is Ty's saying that because I told him about this earlier, but
I was the test run.
You were, I just to like see how it all works and stuff, which is very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but it's more so like a horror story, and it talks about like cults and in a more like human world, not so much of like a fantasy world where there's like
Dragonborn
wizards
and elves,
and stuff like that. but that I'm finding to be extremely hard as well, because it's like just having to like read into it and learn about all these things of like, well, how does combat work, or how do I want the story to even go and stuff, and having to build a story from scratch. Like, I'm not a good writer, for example, like, so I don't have a lot of like in the general sense of like good story building like skills. So this was just kind of something out of my comfort zone of like trying to start that and stuff like that. It's very fun, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely like it is a hard process of like making it good, making it like one easy enough for me because it'd be my first time being the game master for it. Attention all Westchester University students. The Center for Trans and Queer Advocacy will be hosting their yearly Lavender graduation celebration. Join us April 29th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for a ceremony that recognizes and celebrates graduating undergraduates and graduate students that are members of the LGBTQIA+ community. This celebration will take place in Sykes Ballroom, where all are welcome. Congratulations to all the 2025 graduates, and we hope to see you there. Yeah, it's like having it be a good story while also it being a challenge for the players, but hopefully something that they will win, that it's not like a complete like, no, you're going to lose the moment you start playing it. Like, I kind of don't like that, and I've seen that before of like, the players don't necessarily know that they are going in with the expectation of that they are going to fail. And I kind of don't like that, because it's like there's no then incentive to do good if you don't, like, if the game master has assumed that you're going to fail. I think there's like a line between it being like you can make it challenging and stuff like that. There has to be at least some chance to win. You know, yeah. But I do think that D&D and like any like RPG, like tabletop game, like those all are in center of board games and stuff like that. And that I think is even, that's its own conversation topic, but that's definitely a big one in terms of like there being a story and stuff like that. But there's one, like, if we're looking at, like, specifically, like, maybe their own board games that have a story, there aren't many. There aren't many games like that. I would say one that maybe does have that is Betrayal at House on the Hill. That's, like, the closest one I could think of that, like, has a story. And, like, I don't know how much it usually, like, the actual game itself goes for. I think it's, like, $40-$50, which is a lot, but, like, it comes with a lot.
Not as much as Blood on the Clock Tower is.
Oh, my God.
I looked that up after you told me.
Yeah, it's $150.
$150. I found one on Facebook Marketplace for $200, because I was like, let me look at Facebook Marketplace. Surely somebody will be selling an old version.
It's
ridiculous.
Blood on the Clock Tower is one of my favorite board games of all time, but I have to play it like using like the online script maker. I cannot use like the physical copy. And for those that don't know, it's just like a social deception game. Someone's the demon or the killer, and there's townsfolk trying to figure out who it is. It's more complicated than that, but that's pretty much the base understanding of it, is that there's good guys, there's bad guys. But it gets so in depth of like what happens in the game, and I love being the storyteller for it. I like playing it, don't get me wrong, but being a player in a social deception game, like, I can be a good liar in the game. I am an awful detective. If anything, I will crack the case by accident, and that almost happened in one game.
Yeah. I had my best game ever of Blood on the Clock Tower.
Oh my God.
Only for I was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Only for the other two to fumble it, unfortunately, because of a miscommunication.
And that was such a shame, because like that's the beautiful thing about like being the game master, or like storyteller for it, is that I will see everything. like that's happening in the game. I know who is who and stuff like that. I know what happens, and I would like wake your player up, and you would try and poison somebody, and and what that did in the game is that like I could then lie to that poisoned player about whatever information they were getting. So if they were to like say, oh, I think if there's a role called like the empath, which is if they're neighbors that are physically sitting next to them, they're alive neighbors. They know how many of them are evil, so they'd learn a 0, 1, or 2. And if, let's say, neither one of them were evil, they would ordinarily learn a 0. But if they were poisoned, I would lie to them and say that it is either a 1 or a 2. And you perfectly just picked the people that would learn vital information, and then none of it was correct, like the information that they actually learned. And having to hold that in as well, of like being like, holy crap, he's actually killing it. It's
the
insane.
first person was just... the first night, you don't even get to talk to everybody before they get their information, so there's no inkling what they are whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And I just was like...
You just picked a random person.
You're across from me.
You just pick a random person.
And then he was very vocal with his information. That was incorrect information.
Yeah.
And I poisoned somebody else who wouldn't quite tell me what he was, because I was like, you seem like you know things, because he wasn't telling me what he was. But he seemed like he knew things, so he was getting recurring information.
Yeah.
Got him wrong information, hit somebody else because they revealed something important. And then he revealed what he was, and I was like, okay, cool, you do get information every night.
Yeah.
Rest of the game, poisoned.
Exactly, yeah. And it's definitely a very, very more complicated, like, deception game. But I love it so much. And I think it's also as well where it's like, the replayability of it, and that can apply to both video games and board games for me. Is just like, I want to be able to play something like that I know I can come back to and will still love it like I played it the first time. And story-driven games are a bit harder to do that, at least for video games, only because it's like, a story can be great. And you can and the same applies for like movies, where it's like, okay, you're going to watch a movie you thoroughly enjoy and you're still going to love it. However, it might not hit as well as the first time that you watch or play it, or like a video game that I love so dearly is Inscription. That is one of my favorite video games of all time. And I remember, the main story happening, and just afterwards it hit me and I'm like, that was amazing. Like, that was amazing. And I don't think I would get that same feeling from doing it again. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is still great.
Because there's the replayability in stories sometimes where it's like, there's one of my favorite video games where there's a betrayer. Mm-hmm. And then after the betrayer, you get to go back and, like, see memories of where your back was turned, or you had walked away.
Oh.
And those, or only, like, usually you walk through the area and there are memories you can check out.
Sure.
But those don't show up until after he betrays you.
Oh.
And then you go back and you're like, this is why he helped that person to get more information. It wasn't him being kind. Oh, this is what he did when he lingered behind me. And it just reveals little stuff and his thought process. Because he isn't like, he's doing it for a good reason. Mm-hmm. I did cry at that video game. I did not cry the second time I finished it because it already hit. I already knew the conclusion. The tragedy had already happened. And that's something with it.
It's definitely like, I will say that's one thing of like crying at like a video game. It's like, I feel like it's one thing for like a movie, because like a movie can be just so impactful, but it is truly incredible and so rare when a video game makes you cry, because it's just like, I think with that especially, because it's like, you're the one being the catalyst for that happening, of like, you're playing it, so you're going to see it.
And it's like, the betrayer, I got so attached to him. I think at the beginning of the game, he mentions a kid that he has, and I went, the kid's going to die. Now that, I was off, but I was like, at first I was like, I'm not going to get attached to this supposed kid. Mm. But I got so attached to the betrayer that the ending crushed me. And then with Horizon Zero Dawn, which was one of my favorite games of all time, the ending, because the main character wants to find her mother. Mm-hmm. That's like her biggest motivation in the first game. Not so much saving the world. That's just a coincidence. She wants her mother. And the ending and how that big one of hers concludes, like, I literally, like, I cried.
It's
quietly, silently cried about it. It was so, because I had also gone through this whole thing.
It's just so good, though.
It was so good. I went through this whole thing with her at every turn wanting to find her mother and seeing the implications, because it's a matriarchal society she comes from. So the way that people who don't have dads are insulted in our society is essentially her. She was an outcast because she didn't have a mother. And it was so important to her and it meant so much to her. And then just the conclusion, like, it was such a good conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, like, because, yeah, I think Inscription was one of the only few times that I truly, like, I either did or was, like, about to, like, cry just because, like, I honestly kind of forget the story. I need to play it again is the thing. Cause
I think I need to play it.
It's so good. But, like, I think another thing for me that I'm learning as I'm getting older is that, like, I'm just liking board games more as I'm getting older. Not saying that I'm liking video games less, but, like, when I'm little, like, more often than not, I'm going to play a game by myself. But when I think about games that I played in the past, like, there's a lot of nostalgia and emotion towards it. One of my favorite games to play with my brother when I was little was, like, Call of Duty Black Ops, but specifically Zombies, because both of us just loved it so much, and I could talk about that for a while. But I just love the, like, Black Ops Zombies, and, like, we would play, I think it was Black Ops 2 and 3 were, like, the big ones, and then after 3 I was just like, okay, I kind of lost interest. It just kind of lost its spark for me. And it feels like one of those things where it's like I'll look at a trailer for, like, I guess this is the sixth one or something. I'll look at it and I feel like I'm 80 years old, like, trying to read the newspaper being like, I don't understand any of it. Like, I don't get any of it. Because it's just lost that, like, spark, so to speak.
I'll say, my brother and I didn't play, like, Call of Duty games. Our mom didn't let us have those. We had Doom, because my dad had Doom. I also love video games so much because, like, when I was younger, I was tearing it up on the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 3 was already out, and later the PlayStation 4 was out, but I had the PlayStation 2. That's what I was playing. And my mom loved the Spyro games, so we had just about every Spyro game.
Oh my god, I forgot.
She 100%ed it, I 100%ed it, and it was something that we were like, something that bond with your parents with.
That was a thing where you'd have to buy, like, the actual physical portal
thing.
And then, what am I thinking of? There was one.
Toys for Bob owns the IP for Spyro, so when they created the Skylanders franchise, and they had the very recognizable Spyro that they could use. What it was. They used Spyro as a way to promote the game and also get Spyro, which I'm not mad at them for that. I love Spyro. Any more Spyro is good.
I wish I still had my, like, because I still distinctly remember having, like, the physical, like, Skylanders, like, portal, and then putting the.
Do you want to play Skylanders?
We will play Skylanders.
I own Skylanders.
We will play
and just about every single character, because my brother doesn't play it anymore, so essentially we can use all of them.
Well, that's one thing that I've also learned as well, of, like, when I'm home, like, more often than not, like, my mom's like, oh, do you want to get rid of this old game that you don't play anymore? I've stopped saying yes, because it's like, after a certain point, I'm not going to find that game ever again if I get rid of it.
I was devastated, because the thing board games have is, like, yeah, it can get destroyed, but you can repair it and you can fix it. But if your CD for your old game gets busted, like, it gets too scratched up because it's old, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I remember my Spyro the Dragon CD stopped working. It was too scratched up, it stopped working. I could never play Spyro the Dragon again. And that month, they announced the Reignited Trilogy. Saved me. Because
it's a godsend.
Because my Spyro game literally stopped working, and now I have it in higher resolution, and they've added some additional things. Would we like to talk about the poll?
Oh, yes, let's do that, sure.
So I sent the poll out to the rugby team, and that poll was answered by the rugby team and one guy who I handed my phone and I said, "Here, you take my vote."
Fair enough.
And 9 of them voted for board games, and 7 of them voted for video games.
Okay.
And then I also made another poll to send the app that we use for rugby. We just have a poll.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a poll, and I sent it out to a bunch of other friends. And 5 of them said board games, and then 8 of them said video games. And so the total goes 14 for board games and 15 for video games.
Wow.
And
the fact that that's actually by 1 is crazy.
Question, though.
Yeah.
This might be very, very tight.
Mm-hmm.
TTRPGs, that's like D&D, Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
We've established those
Yeah.
are board games.
Yeah.
That makes it 15-15.
So it's
Somebody put other and put TTRPGs.
Oh, okay.
And since we've established those as board game, that makes it 15-15 split. But the rugby athletes who prefer to be outside, they, excluding the one guy who voted in that one, that was 9-6
of board
games.
I
preferred
mean,
outside people.
It does make sense that the people that want to be outside want to play the physical copy of something, and then the people that want to
go to gaming club,
and then the people that want to like turn off their lights and just be at the computer. I'm pointing at myself. Want to play video games? Though I do love both.
And so that makes a total 50-50 split here.
I will say this as well for like video games. Like one thing that also like just on a community basis of things of like extreme video gaming of just speed running games and
those
stuff
are
like
so
that.
much fun.
I have been told I am insane for being a speedrunner for a game called Cuphead. I've been told that I'm an insane person for doing that, and I have been speedrunning that game on and off for about 3 years now. I don't know what position I am on speedrun.com, but I can beat the game in like 45 minutes. Which I've been told is a direct, I guess just a direct result of me being insane, or something.
Yeah, you are insane.
Because that game is very, very difficult. I mean, that I will say this. That's something that I feel like video games have more than board games of like rage games. You can get angry at a board game, and trust me, I have.
I'm looking at you, Cam, playing Diplomacy.
I'm looking at.
I will never play that game again. Doesn't matter if Cam is playing or not. I'm never playing that god awful game again.
I'm looking at you, Monopoly, just the game itself.
Speaking of rage games, I refuse to play Monopoly with Cameron. I'm never playing Diplomacy again because I played with Cameron and it sucked, and I just had the worst night of my life, and that didn't help.
Yeah.
Awful. The social deception games with Cameron, immediately don't trust him.
Yeah.
Like, we're not supposed to metagame in them, but I'm staying away from him until he talks to at least 5 other people first.
Here's the thing.
He's really good at them.
Here's the thing. Not to go back to Blood on the Clock Tower, but you bring up that good
He's
point.
freaky. He's freaky good at this stuff.
You're gonna have to send this to him.
I've every time we talk about friends and I vaguely mention a friend, I've been
You
sending it
send
to
it
them.
to them.
And I send it with like hey, we talked about
like
you
a
here.
timestamp or something.
No.
But for the like for going back to like with the rage games of it, like
Yeah.
that's the love-hate for like again with me for like Blood on the Clock Tower, where it's like I have 2 instances. One, we had to like end the game abruptly. We couldn't keep going with it. But I was like a townsfolk, like a good guy, and I was sitting next to Cam, who was bad, and I had initially had a conversation with the killer for the game, and I was this close to figuring it out, but then they both convinced me, being like, no, like, I'm sure it's fine. Like,
He's so good at the game. Like, when we ended that game abruptly, like, he had made an argument against it being one type of person, like one type of the killer. And I was like, I don't know what to believe, because if it wasn't this player who's really, really good at social deception games, I would have believed no doubt, because it made so much sense.
But then there's the other side of the coin, where I played a game with our friend Bo, and I was on the bad team. Like I was on the evil team, and they were on the good team. and I had convinced them so well of what the plan was of like how the game was going, and it wasn't the case. Like they had suspected that it was me and the killer, and I was like, no, it can't be because of this, like of 3 lines of inquiry, to a point where I almost convinced myself that was the case. Like I almost gaslit myself that was the case, and when the game ends and you figure out who wins, and just hearing like this is who you do a roll call of like what character everyone was, and them hearing that I was evil, like they just were like, you god dang it, like just like so angry. I genuinely felt like so bad. I'm like, I need to take a hiatus from being a player in this game, because if I'm ever evil, I'm too...
It's so much fun. Every time I'm not evil, I don't want to play anymore, I'll be honest with you, because I'm so... Like, being evil is so fun, because I just need to try to convince people rather than trying to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
And Cameron's really good at
But
that.
I think that's the opposite.
It's wonderful.
I feel like that's the opposite, though, of, like, to a certain degree for some people, where it's, like, them knowing that they're good, they know they're not lying. So, like, initially, like, they're like, okay, I don't need to stress because I know I'm not lying, whereas if they were evil, it would be the upset or the fear of just like, well, they might think I'm lying and I don't know how to lie, and like, you know, in a game and stuff like that.
I love lying. When I was playing that Poisoner game, nothing was worse than when I concluded with one of them that we're each going to say opposites, but then the other two didn't talk to each other and they both claimed the same thing. And then, you know, somebody went, okay, information. They're both saying they're the same thing. And I was like, it took everything in me not to literally just be like... Because I was just like, the biggest fumble. But inexperienced players, that's how the game goes. Like, that's part of it.
There's one more point I want to make for this game, and then we'll wrap it up.
We've got to.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up after this. But there was, the actual physical copy only has so many, but the company that, like, I think it's called the Pandemonium Institute, like, makes the game. They're constantly, like, adding more. It's just not a physical copy of it. So there was one time where I told the players, I'm like, I'm going to change something. You're going to have to figure it out. And then, because there's this killer called the Legion, where it's literally... their majority of the players are evil. The majority of the players are evil. They cannot kill. I choose who dies in the night. And then when it's like voting or something, if only evil players voted, the count counts as 0. It's confusing. It's very confusing, but it's very interesting because I feel like that in itself is changing what's, you know, initial of a deception game of there being one killer. And it's like, well, now there's like, if there's 8 players, now there's 5, and only 3 of the good players are trying to like figure out, well, who is the one killer, you know, and stuff like that.
Are the Legion, are they all like equally the killer?
Yeah, they all know who Legion is and stuff like that, but they don't have any killing power. I choose who dies. So I would, you know, ordinarily, because there's many evil players, you would kill an evil player in the night. But the issue with, you know, there being multiple evil players is that they only know so few characters that are not in play that they can bluff as. So a lot of the time you'll hear double claiming of things because everyone's double claiming something that they don't actually have.
Communication's got to be on par with that.
Yeah. And then usually, ordinarily, you'll make the good players have really strong abilities to make it seem like, okay, well, there has to be more than one killer or one evil person. That doesn't make sense. And it just changes the kind of conception of that. But
sounds like we got to do that.
We will. There will be time.
There will be time.
But I will say, I think that'll wrap up this video this week. I think we definitely delved into each other's sides a lot because I'll be honest, I love both. Yeah. But, you know, so.
There is a leaderboard on the wall in every apartment I've lived at since I've owned my Mahjong set of just a leaderboard of all-time wins of Mahjong. Of everybody that's ever played and ever won.
And it's just going to keep going.
It's just going to keep going.
But yeah, so let us know in the comments below who you think won this debate this week, and let us know what your favorite video game or board game is in the comments.
Let us know again Yeah, who you think won. And if I won, then maybe Luke's going to end up on the loser board, on the back of my leaderboard at my house.
Which I'm not aware of, but
You were fairly aware of. I told you. You need to say the one phrase, and you'll get put on the loser board.
Well, I haven't yet, and I'm not going to find out now. But that'll be it for us, folks. There will be one more episode of this, our final episode, episode 10. Join us for that. It'll be a nice, interesting finale. But until
Season
then,
finale.
thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.
Take care.